Ever feel like your smartphone is practically an extension of you? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's incredible
It is.
how much we rely on these devices now for, like,
Right.
everything, from, like, our finances to
Absolutely.
tracking our steps to, like,
Yeah.
let's be honest, watching a lot of cat videos.
Oh, tons of those.
But did you ever, like, stop and think about, like, what's really behind all of this?
Like
Like,
the deeper
yeah,
forces.
the deeper forces at play. I was looking at this blog post,
Uh-huh.
Shiva, Shakti, and the Silicon Soul, a modern take on ancient energies.
Interesting.
It's by Nandakumar Nayar from
Okay.
his blog Nalam Address.
Okay.
And it just, like, completely
Yeah.
changed how I look at, like, all this tech stuff.
It's really a fascinating perspective to think about it through that lens, the lens of ancient Hindu philosophy.
Like ancient wisdom, like, how does that apply to this?
Yeah.
So for this deep dive, we're going to try to unpack this whole analogy. It all centers around two concepts
Uh-huh.
in Hinduism, Shiva and Shakti.
Okay.
Now, I'll admit, Hindu philosophy, it's been a while.
Yeah.
So can you give us, like, a quick,
Of course. Yeah.
like, refresher on who these deities are?
Yeah, absolutely. So Shiva and Shakti are often depicted as this divine couple representing these two like essential aspects of reality. And Shiva is, or I think most people know him as that stillness and that meditation, that unmanifested potential.
Yodai.
He's the cosmic consciousness, right?
Yeah.
The source of all creation, but in this like quiet state. Just think of him as the vast, silent space that everything like emerges from.
So he's like the ultimate introvert, like
Yes.
the cosmic chill master.
It got it. That's a great way to put it. And so, yeah, he embodies that principle of potential energy, right? All
Yeah.
that latent power just waiting to be unleashed.
Okay. And then that's where Shakti comes in.
Yeah. Precisely. Shakti is that dynamic counterpart.
Yeah.
She's the energy, the action, the transformation. She's that force that brings Shiva's potential to life and just sets the universe in motion. So think of her as the dancer, the artist, the creative impulse that shapes and molds reality.
So she was like the potential, the blueprint.
Yes.
And then Shakti is like the builder.
Exact.
The one who makes it happen.
Brings the vision into reality.
And this interplay.
This interplay.
Between the two of them is like,
the driving force behind all of creation.
whoa. That's pretty
Yeah.
mind-blowing. But how does this ancient wisdom relate to, like, our modern world?
Right.
Our tech-obsessed world?
Yeah, and this is where I think the blog post takes a really interesting turn because the author says you can see the same interplay of Shiva and Shakti within our computers.
Okay. Now, I'm intrigued,
Yeah.
but I'm also a little skeptical. How do we get from
Right.
cosmic deities to, like, circuit boards?
I love it. Well, he proposes this idea that computer hardware, the motherboard, the processors, RAM, all the physical components are like the Shiva. They're the static platform, the potential waiting to be unlocked.
Okay, so that's like the raw material, the hardware. It's like the blank canvas waiting for something
Exactly.
to make it come alive. So then the software would be like
The paint, the artist.
the paint. Yeah.
You got it. Software is like the Shakti of the computer world. It brings the hardware to life, just like Shakti activates Shiva's potential. It's the code, the instructions, the algorithms that make it actually do something.
Okay. I'm starting to see this.
Yeah.
So without the software, a computer is just like a bunch of,
Right. It's just
Yeah.
parts. Yeah. It's impressive, but ultimately useless.
it's like a brain without any
Yeah, exactly.
thoughts.
Yes.
It needs that spark, that
That's a
energy, that activating
That's-
force to make it come alive.
And not just bringing it to life. Different types of software can express different facets of Shakti's energy. Think about it. We have software to create art, to analyze data, to connect with people, to entertain ourselves.
So you're saying like Photoshop, for example.
Yes.
That's like channeling
That creative energy.
that creative energy.
Yeah, so,
But then something like Excel,
yeah.
which is like
More analytical. Yeah.
data and organizing.
That's expressing that organizational power.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So every time we're on our computer,
Mm-hmm.
it's like we're doing this dance between
It is the cosmic dance between Shiva and Shakti. The hardware is the potential, the stage, and the software is the energy, the choreography.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And what's even more fascinating is that the blog post takes this further and says this analogy goes beyond just the hardware and software. It can be seen in other aspects of the digital world.
Okay, like what?
Think about data storage. massive data centers with all their hard drives and servers. Those could be viewed as a modern-day manifestation of Shiva, these vast reservoirs of potential information.
Interesting.
Isn't it interesting?
Yeah, so like these data centers,
Yeah.
they're like these libraries
Giant digital libraries.
holding all this knowledge.
Yeah, but it's not doing anything until we access it, until we process it, until we make meaning of it.
Right.
Right.
It's just there.
And that's where Shakti comes in again. The algorithms that sift through the data, the programs that analyze and interpret it, the act of searching and retrieving information, that's all an expression of Shakti.
Wow. That's making me think differently about doing a Google search.
Right.
I never thought about it like that.
It's that cosmic dance.
This dance between
Potential and action.
potential and action.
Transforming that raw data into meaningful insights, potential knowledge into actionable intelligence.
What about us? Like, where do
Yeah.
we fit in
That's a great question.
this whole Shiva Shakti?
And the blog post dives into that a little bit too. The author argues that we as users, as creators, as consumers of technology, we're also a part of this dance.
So we're not just like passive observers.
We're active participants. We shape and are shaped by the technology that we use.
I'm really interested to like dig into that more.
Yeah.
How does this help us understand
Right.
the impact
Yeah, the impact of
that
technology
technology has on our lives?
on our lives, our relationships,
Our relationship.
even our sense of self, right?
Yeah, our sense of self.
That's what we're going to explore in the next part
Okay.
of our deep dive. But before we go there, maybe let's just pause and let everyone kind of absorb what we just talked about.
Yeah,
I know it's a lot.
it's a lot to take in.
It is.
It's very thought-provoking.
To our listeners, I want you to take a moment and think about your relationship with technology.
Yeah.
Can you see the interplay of Shiva and Shakti in how you use your devices, in the content that you consume,
Yeah.
in the online world that you navigate? We'll be back in just a little bit to explore these questions even further and see how this ancient wisdom can really offer some valuable insights for navigating this crazy, complex digital age that we live in.
Welcome back, Deep Divers.
Oh,
Before we went on that thought-provoking tangent, we were talking about how this whole Shiva and Shakti concept applies to, like, us,
right.
the users, not just the tech.
Yeah, it's so easy to think of technology as this, external force that's just shaping our lives, right? But this analogy really highlights that we're not just passive recipients. We bring our own energies to it.
Right.
We bring our own Shiva and Shakti to our interactions with technology.
So how does that actually play out? Like, give me an example.
Okay. Think about social media, right?
Go.
On one hand, you have the platforms themselves. You have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, right?
Right.
Those are like the hardware, the Shiva aspect. They provide the structure, the potential for connection, right?
Okay.
But it's us, the users, who bring the Shakti. We're the ones creating the content, sharing our thoughts and experiences, engaging in conversations.
So my, like, endless scrolling through Instagram
Yeah.
is like me expressing my...
It is a manifestation of your inner Shakti.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
I think it's both, probably. It depends on how you're using that energy, right?
Right.
Are we using it to connect authentically, to express ourselves creatively, to build those meaningful relationships?
Yeah.
Or are we just getting caught up in that endless cycle of comparison, the validation seeking,
Yeah.
a mindless consumption?
That's a good point. It's like this potential for both
Yes.
positive and negative
Negative.
expression of Shakti.
Exactly. And this is where I think that concept of balance becomes really important because remember, Shiva and Shakti aren't these opposing forces.
Right.
They complement each other. They need each other to actually function.
So if we're constantly just
Yes.
go, 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 Shakti mode, like always creating, consuming,
Yeah.
connecting, why? What happens? Without like tapping into
Our inner Shiva.
our inner Shiva, what happens?
I think we risk burnout,
Yeah.
overwhelm, and the sense of just feeling fragmented, right?
Yes.
We lose touch with that inner stillness, that space of potential and reflection that I think is essential for our well-being.
Think about how you feel after like hours of scrolling or binge watching.
Yeah, it's like you feel depleted.
Yeah, you feel
Scattered and ungrounded.
grounded.
Yeah.
I definitely feel that.
So this is where the need for balance comes in,
Yeah.
right? We need to cultivate those moments of stillness, disconnecting from the digital world,
Yeah.
tapping into our inner Shiva. That's where we can recharge, reconnect with ourselves, and find clarity in the midst of all this chaos.
So it's not like about giving up
No.
technology altogether.
It's finding that healthy rhythm
Yeah.
between the dynamic energy of Shakti and the stillness of Shiva.
So it's really about being more mindful, being more intentional
Intentional.
about how we use it.
Absolutely. And another powerful practice that the author talks about is what he calls digital mindfulness.
Okay.
And it's really just about bringing awareness to your digital habits. How are you feeling when you're using technology?
Yeah.
Are you feeling energized and inspired, connected?
Yeah.
Or are you feeling drained, anxious, maybe even envious?
It's easy to just be scrolling without
Without even
like,
realizing.
thinking about it.
Yeah.
How's this making me feel?
And once you start paying attention to that digital diet, you can start making more conscious choices.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe you decide, you know what, I'm going to unfollow some accounts that are triggering those negative emotions. I'm going to set time limits for certain apps.
Yeah.
Right? It's about creating a digital environment that supports your well-being instead of depleting it.
So it's like taking those principles of mindfulness.
Yes.
Which we usually think about with like
meditation,
being present.
being present in the physical world.
Yeah.
And applying them to our digital lives.
Our digital world.
Exactly. And that brings us back to the importance of cultivating our inner Shiva, right?
Yeah.
Even if we can't escape the digital world completely, we can create those pockets of stillness within it.
Yeah.
We can practice taking a few deep breaths before we check our emails,
Yeah.
putting our phones away during meals.
Right.
Maybe just pausing for a moment to appreciate the beauty of the world around us, even if it's just a glimpse of sunlight through the window.
Those little moments are
Those moments of stillness are so important.
so important.
They give us a chance to reset, to reconnect with ourselves, and remember what truly matters.
Yeah, I think that's something we all need,
We all need that.
whether we're tech enthusiasts or technophobes.
Absolutely. At the end of the day, technology is a tool,
Yeah.
right?
It's up to us how we use it.
It's up to us. Are we going to let it control us?
Yeah.
Or are we going to harness its power to enhance our lives and hopefully create a better world?
I'm realizing that this analogy is actually pretty helpful
It's a helpful tool.
for navigating this world.
It is. And what I thought was so intriguing was how he connected this to, modern scientific concept.
Oh, yeah, he brings up quantum physics.
Yes.
And that was like,
That's where I was like, whoa.
my brain is going to...
It's a mind-bending concept.
Yeah.
But it's worth exploring. Essentially, he connects Shiva's cosmic dance, the Tandava, to this concept of superposition in quantum mechanics.
Okay, remind me what superposition is.
Yeah. Superposition basically means that a quantum particle can exist in multiple states simultaneously until it's observed.
Okay.
It's like, have you ever thought about a coin spinning in the air?
Yeah.
It's both heads and tails until it lands and you see the result.
Oh, okay.
Right.
So it's all about the potential.
Pure potential.
Like all the possibilities.
All the possibilities existing at once, just like Shiva holding that blueprint for all creation within himself.
Right, exactly.
And guess what he says represents the act of observation? Shakti, the force that collapses the wave function and brings that particle into a definite state.
Oh, wow.
Isn't that cool?
Yeah. So just like Shakti brings Shiva's potential
Into manifestation.
for life to manifestation, the act of observation brings that particle into a definite reality.
Yeah.
So even at the subatomic level,
We're seeing this dance
we're seeing this dance play out.
between the potential and the action, the unmanifested and the manifested.
And what's really trippy is that some physicists think that consciousness,
Yes.
like our minds,
Our awareness.
might influence
Yes.
the behavior.
Of those subatomic particles.
Right.
Isn't that wild?
That's a lot.
It's a controversial idea, but a lot of serious scientists are actually exploring it.
I need a minute to process all of this.
It's heavy stuff.
Yeah. But it's also really exciting. Like this ancient wisdom is giving us this whole new framework.
A new way of understanding not just technology, but the very fabric of reality itself.
Yeah.
Right?
I know, right?
It is. And it underscores the importance of approaching knowledge with an open mind, right?
Yeah.
And a willingness to explore these seemingly unrelated fields.
Right.
Who would have thought that ancient Hindu philosophy would help us understand, cutting edge physics and the digital age?
I know. This deep dive has been,
It's a lot.
yeah, a lot.
But it's a good kind of a lot, right?
That's a lot. But I have to admit, I am feeling,
A little overwhelmed.
yeah, a little overwhelmed.
Understandably so.
Because it's like we zoomed out from the everyday world of our devices, and now we're talking about the nature of reality
That's right.
and consciousness.
It's big stuff.
So where do we go from here? How do we take
Sure.
all of this and apply it to our everyday
That's the question, right?
lives?
That's what we'll be exploring in the final part of our deep dive. We'll delve into some practical tips
Okay.
for finding balance in our digital lives, for cultivating our inner Shiva and Shakti, and harnessing the power of technology in a way that really supports our well-being.
All right. A little more grounded advice.
A little more grounded, a little more practical.
I think we all need that
I think so too.
after this deep dive.
After all of that mind-bending cosmic exploration.
So we'll be right back after a quick break to discuss how to bring this ancient wisdom down to earth
Down to earth.
and integrate it into our modern digital lives. All right, deep divers, our brains are officially full of quantum particles and cosmic dances.
Yeah.
But let's bring things back down to earth for a minute.
Back down to earth.
How do we actually, live out this Shiva Shakti balance?
Yeah.
In our, daily
Tech-filled lives.
tech-filled lives.
That's the million-dollar question.
It's so easy to get
Oh, it is.
swept up in
Yeah.
all the information,
Yes.
notifications, demand.
It's constant.
Yeah.
But I think the key is to remember that we have the power to choose how we interact with it.
Right.
We're not powerless victims here.
So we're not, throwing our smartphones in the ocean,
No, whoa.
going off the grid,
Although some days,
although tempting.
it is tempting.
But it's really about finding that balance.
Yeah, it's about finding a sustainable rhythm, a balance that works for you.
Yeah.
Think of it as a dance.
Okay.
Sometimes you need that dynamic, expressive energy of Shakti, and sometimes you need that stillness and introspection of Shiva.
What are some, concrete things?
Yeah, actionable steps.
Actionable steps.
One simple but powerful thing you can do is to create those tech-free zones in your life.
Okay.
It could be certain times of the day, like maybe the first hour when you wake up, the last hour before you go to bed,
Yeah.
maybe certain spaces, your bedroom, the dining room table.
I actually started doing that with my bedroom. No phones
Oh, nice.
after 9 p.m.
I love that.
It was hard at first, but I have to say,
Yeah.
I am sleeping better.
You see, it's amazing how those small changes can make a big difference.
Yeah.
And remember, it's not about being perfect. It's progress, not perfection.
Right.
Some days, you might slip up totally fine. Just gently guide yourself back into the practice.
My willpower is definitely not
Oh, I hear you.
perfect.
Especially when the phone's buzzing with notifications. Notifications are the digital equivalent of a sugar rush.
I know.
Right.
It's true.
That little dopamine hit. But they can be so distracting.
Yeah.
And they pull us out of the present moment.
So what do we do about notifications?
Yeah.
Just get rid of them all.
Well, you can. Or you can be more selective
Oh.
about which apps you send you notifications.
Yeah.
Do you really need to know every time someone likes your Instagram photo?
Probably not.
Or comments on your Facebook page? Probably not.
It's hard to resist.
It is. It's designed to be addictive, right?
Yeah.
But if you can resist that urge to check it,
Yeah.
every time it buzzes, you're going to reclaim so much mental space.
Right. It's about,
Taking back control.
yes, taking control, being more intentional about how and when we engage with technology.
Mhm.
And another thing that you mentioned was,
Yes, digital mindfulness.
digital mindfulness.
Bringing awareness to your digital habits. Notice how you're feeling when you're using your technology.
Right.
Are you feeling good? Are you not feeling good?
Yeah, make those conscious choices.
Conscious choices. Unfollow accounts that are triggering you. Set those time limits.
Right.
Create a digital environment that's good for you.
So it's we're applying those principles of mindfulness.
Exactly, to our digital lives.
Digital lives.
And that brings us back to Shiva. Even if we can't totally escape it,
Right.
we can create pockets of stillness.
Yeah.
Take those deep breaths before checking email. Put your phone away when you eat.
Mm-hmm.
Pause. Appreciate the beauty around you. Even if it's just, like you said, a little bit of sunlight coming through the window.
Those moments are so,
Important.
to reset.
They are essential. They give us that chance to reset, to reconnect with ourselves and remember what actually matters.
I think we all need that.
We all do.
Techie or not.
Absolutely. Like I said before, technology is a tool.
Yeah.
It's up to us to decide how we use it. Do we let it control us, or do we harness its power to improve our lives?
It's not about, demonizing technology
No.
or just getting rid of it all.
It's about finding that balance.
It's that dance between the Shakti
the Shakti.
and the Shiva.
The stillness of Shiva.
All right, listeners, we encourage you to embrace this dance.
Embrace this dance.
of Shiva and Shakti in your own lives.
In your own lives.
Experiment. See what works for you.
And remember that even small steps can make a big difference.
And as you're, living in this digital world,
Yes.
ask yourself, is technology serving you or are you serving it?
That's the question.
That's a great question.
It is.
And on that note,
we
will leave you to continue your exploration of this fascinating
intersection between ancient wisdom and modern technology.
Until next time, deep divers. Keep diving deep, stay curious.
Stay curious.
And remember to find that sweet spot between stillness and motion, potential and action.
Because that's where the magic happens.
That's where the magic happens.